I speak the words of power. I'm talking to barbarian or savage. Who are you? Who are you? Spreek je Nederlands of misschien Frans of Engels? Myself, I don't speak them. Just your color looks different. I speak the language of ignorance. I speak the language that colonialism embodied. Each word. Your ancestors kills my ancestors. And I still have your whips trace over my body. Waar kom je vandaan? Waar kom je vandaan? Nee. Waar kom je echt vandaan? I come from the land of the ocean, the mountains, the river, and the blue sea. I come from where the sun sits and sleeps. The sun sleeps with my ancestors, with Argan's trees. And the sun sleeps side by side with the poor kids. I come from a land closer to the great moon. I come from the land of horses, the jasmine flowers, and the first human. What are you talking about? Seriously? Maar je bent Marokkaan, klopt? What the fuck are you talking about? I come from the land where we do not call each other Moroccans, but we call each other the lovers, the parents, the eye of freedom, and we call each other the free man. We call each other Amazigh. Why do you talk about your people like this? You sound like racist Moroccan. Huh? Why are you talking about your land like this? You sound like racist Moroccan. I do not forgive. You steal my land. You steal the water, you steal the oil, you steal the flowers, you steal the dreams. And you bring sick rats. And you bring sick rats. And you bring horny soldiers. I'm the refugee. You are the Netherlands. I'm the refugee, you are the European. I'm the refugee. You are the Netherlands. I'm the refugee. You are the Netherlands. You are the colonial past. I'm the future. I am the future. You are the colonial past. I am the future. I am the future. You are the Netherlands. I am the future. You are the Netherlands. I'm the refugee. You are the Netherlands. I'm the future. 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 Where's the fucking video?
I have been thinking and pondering about what to tell you today. I ask myself, what should I tell them? Should I decorate my words or can I just be honest with you? Let it go and speak the truth in the face of power and people. Yesterday I prayed to Allah to guide me toward honesty, and I found that the only way to be honest with you is to talk to myself. Because I trust myself, and I can feel myself and my emotions deeply. This is the only way I can be honest with you. So now, I'm not talking to you anymore, I'm talking to myself. I love you, Mala, you know. Yes, I love me too. Wait, why did you call me by my name? Because I love your name and you are me. Yes, I know, I like my name too. I like my name 2 times. But let me talk to you. Sorry, let me talk to me. Don't worry, I like when you call me you, and I like opening conversations with you always, Mala. You know, this word is stranger and hard. Yes, I see, especially if you have a lot of responsibilities. Like cleaning your house, going for a walk, listening to Ayana Kamara. What were you waiting me to say? Changing the word like example, those are also my responsibilities. Mala, let's play the game of what if. You will start. No, you will start. Wait. Let's start together, okay? 1, 2, 3, go, Mala. What if my father didn't live together? Mama will be lesbian. Oh my God, I will have 2 lesbian mothers. Wait. What you should ask is, what if France, Spain, Portugal, Germany did not colonize us? Fuck, actually, this is a good question. I will not be a refugee in the Netherlands. And I will not say, Khala on it is in moeilijk talen in my life. What if I was rich? Fuck, this is not the best question, but what if it was no rich, no poor, no middle class, no classism, no racism, everyone is trans, no prisons, no homelessness? Oh my God, this is big dream, girl. Wanna live like trans-communism, like example, the land of the workers? Yes, Mala, this big light. I can imagine it. Fuck, I will tell everyone poems. We will be one, right? Yeah, yes. Can you practice writing poems for yourself? What if I was able to travel to Morocco? Let's say, what if there is no borders? No, don't tell me I can visit Algeria without a visa. There will be no European Union, no imperialism. I can perform in Johannesburg and Montevideo, and maybe they will have different names. At least we will not have a monarchy or a dictatorship in Morocco. I told you it will be no Morocco. Oh, we will not go to demonstrations. I like them too, but we will go to a party where all of us can cry. We cry together and they hug each other. It will be just normal to cry in public and show support and care. Okay. What if there is no gender binary? Mais arrête! Je peux pas imaginer ce monde-là. Mais quoi? Pourquoi je veux parler en français? Sorry, why you talk to me in French? Because of colonialism. But why are you talking to me in English then? Because we are not alone, Mala. Actually, I wasn't talking to myself. I was talking to you. Wallah. Let's talk to people the same way we talk to ourselves. I love you. I will fight for you. I will write poems for you.
As you might understand, we need a few minutes to wipe the stage and put some chairs and make it suitable for a panel discussion. So for the viewers at home, we're going to have a little commercial for you to watch. And for you, just hang on till we come back. Mic
Hello.
test.
Mic
Okay.
check, mic check.
Mic check, yes. Good evening, everybody.
Mic check.
Welcome at the second edition of Queercity, Queers Against Racism and Discrimination. I'm so happy to see so many people attending this beautiful night. Queercity is an initiative of Fight Club in collaboration with Pakhuis de Zwijger. The program arose from the urgent demand to increase the visibility of the BIPOC LGBTQI plus community in Amsterdam. My name is Bohanna. I'm a freelance journalist from Amsterdam, and tonight I'm the moderator of this event. The essence of the program tonight is very simple and urgent. It's for and by the BIPOC LGBTQI community, with the aim of increasing the visibility of this group, promoting ownership, and empowering the community. Queercity will be a recurring event in Pakhuis de Zwijger. In this series, the queer writers and legends are giving the stage, and with the aim of sharing queer art with a wider audience, people like you. By creating a safer space, we want to offer the possibility to facilitate these artists and writers and sharing their art as a form of resistance, wonder, celebration, and self-actualization. Tonight we're going to talk about 4 different themes in depth. Anti-Black racism, Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, and refugee hatred. We interact via Mentimeter from the audience and also for the people at home, so keep your handy phone. The code is 4 × 4 148, so 4444 148. It's also written on the screen. Naomie Pieter is my first speaker tonight, but before I ask her some questions, we're gonna watch a little video.
We cannot be here without those who came before us. We're gonna take a very loud moment of silence.
Was born free. I will live free. I'm going to decide who I am. Ask me who I am. Don't tell me who I am.
If you're the one who lived that story, you're the one that should tell that story. Don't let anybody tell you you're too bright. If it's too bright, tell them to put their sunglasses on. Y'all can get loud. Hey, yes, yes.
Now we're building our own tables. This is our own stage. We don't need your stage. We don't want your stage. We have our own stage. We will build our own spaces. We are done begging. We are done. We are done kneeling. We are done crying. We will stand up and take up our space because we are what? We are proud.
Yes. Naomie Pieter, who are you for the people that might not know?
first, I want to give a shout out to everybody in the video, but also those who participated and helped make this demonstration possible. So Joanna is one of those people and other people. So just another applause. Oh, and you too. Yes. And some other people, yes, but I don't know everybody's name. But if you were there, you can also stand up and receive applause. So please stand up.
This
please.
is your shot.
Please, this is your shot. No? Okay. Who am I? I'm just somebody who's trying to participate in the road to freedom. I'm just that person. I'm just participating, trying to do the work, and some might call me an activist, but I'm just doing my job that I feel that we all have to do. So,
yeah,
nothing special.
I mean, you might say it's not special. I think it's special to a lot of people. I think it's very special that we have you here tonight. And Naomie, what did we just see? What was the video? What was that day? What was the event? When was it?
This was the birth, and I have to say the birth as in organized birth of Black Pride, because we all carry, well, those of us who are Black, of course, but we all carry Black Pride with us, right? Every day that we wake up and try to just be ourselves, try to move, try to exist in a system that doesn't want us to exist. That's Black Pride. Just doing your thing, trying to do the best that you can. Making it as very simple right now, but it's that. And Black Pride was born 2020, and this was our first demonstration, which we are trying also to kind of blur the line between demonstration and performance, or demonstration and art. So this.
Yeah, and I have a question, which might be a very broad question, but you need to keep it very short and plain. How does institutional racism affect the Black community?
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. This was my first response. Thank you.
Don't shoot the messenger.
So I said, exactly. I was like, first, how does it not? It affects the Black community spiritually, economically, financially, mentally, when it comes to school system, education, on all levels. And then I can go into what that means, but I think just saying that, hopefully, I don't have to explain. And also after last year, come on. If you don't know how institutional racism affects the Black community or affects anybody under that system, anybody of color, then come on, people. Come on.
Word up. Okay, we're going to talk with Naomie later on with the other speakers, but first we go to Nilab Ahmadi. No, you can stay here next to me. Lekker gezellig. Nilab.
Do I take this one?
Yes, take it. Oh, no, wait. I'm going to give you the...
I think it's going to work,
wireless one. So you can stand in the middle and everybody can see.
Okay, so I came unprepared and I just heard I have 3 minutes, of which I thought they were 8. So I'm going to try and keep it short. But first of all, I hate the word Islamophobia. I don't think anyone can have a phobia for people with a certain religion. It's hatred. And I think the first step towards a better world is to use that word. Then the second thing I want to do is I want to give back the term terrorism to where it actually originates from. So when we look at the definition of terrorism, it is the unlawful use of threat or violence, especially against its state or public, as a politically motivated means of coercion. Well, as someone who comes from Afghanistan, I can say that there is a country that uses that form of violence. I think anyone from a South American, Central American, or any state in Southwest Asia can agree with me. So just to keep it short, often when we talk about Islam, we start with 9/11. But there's a lot that happened before 9/11 actually came to be. And let me use one thing that was created by the US and distributed in Afghanistan in the 80s when we were a communist state. And they needed to find a way to get rid of communism. And they thought, well, actually, militant Islamic warriors would be a good way. So the US, I think it was I don't know which state it was, but they created textbooks that they distributed to students from grade 1 to 6. And this was the Persian alphabet. Alif is for Allah. Allah is one. B is for father. Baba. Father goes to the mosque. P is for 5, because Islam has 5 pillars. T is for rifle. Javad obtains rifles for the mujahideen. Those are Islamic warriors. Jim is for jihad. Jihad is an obligation. My mom went to jihad. Our brother gave water to the mujahideen. Dal is for religion. Our religion is Islam. The Russians are the enemies of the religion of Islam. Zbi is for good news. The mujahideen missiles rained down like dew on the Russians. My brother gave me good news that the Russians in our country taste defeat. Shin is for Shakir. Shakir conducts jihad with the sword, and God becomes happy with the defeat of the Russians. So we've created a world where we have institutionalized the loss of fundamental rights for Muslims. They are, by virtue of their existence, suspicious. We've created CIA black pits where people go to get tortured, and these exist all over the world. So often when we talk about the hatred of Muslims, I think when we make it something that's about wearing the hijab or finding a burqa intimidating, it doesn't do it justice. It's something that's so much more sinister. And I think we need to start by granting terrorism the true meaning that it should have, because when we listen to what it means, was lynching black people not an act of terror? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Nilab. So you just gave us an introduction on Islamophobia. Can you also maybe tell the people who you are?
So I'm Nilab. Oh, yeah. Whoops. My name is Nilab. I'm 29 years old. I came here somewhere in the 90s. I'm originally Afghan, which is why this topic is quite relevant to me. Mm-hmm. I'm not Muslim, but I think the thing with hatred of Muslims is that everyone who's perceived as a Muslim, so every refugee that comes from Syria or Lebanon or Iraq, doesn't matter if they're Christian or not. By virtue, people hate you and they're afraid of you. So this is a topic that's ingrained into my existence, I think.
Yeah, very clear, and I think it's also very true what you say, because I also had to deal with it, and my parents are Christians, so I kind of understand where you're coming from. And why do you think this is a topic that, because you said in your introduction that a lot of people don't understand what Islamophobia is and how sinister it is? Why?
Because activism, in a way, even though maybe it's controversial to say it, I mean, it's a sexy subject. Being an activist can be quite cool, and you can use it like in a way to progress on the social ladder, but speaking out against hatred of Muslims never became sexy. And I really like fighting for the underdog, and I saw how, although we grow and we learn more, we're kind of forgetting that there's a very big group that tends to get arrested, stalked by the police, murdered and disappears. And no one's actually that surprised when it happens, because just a little while ago, there were 2 women in France who got stabbed near the Eiffel Tower for wearing a hijab. And I think the perpetrator was quite vocal in why she did it, and there was no upheaval, no uproar from the society that we live in. So I think those are the topics that I want to fight for.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Sorry, I just. Huh? No, I'm just trying to process, because I mean, it is very sinister, and when you say that you feel like the activist community, or that people are not as responsive when it comes to Muslims, that's a very bad thing to feel.
Well, I think that hatred of Muslims is sort of the newest form of imperialism, which is why in their core they have been framed as suspicious, as people who deserve it, as people who are dangerous to society. So often when things happen, like, I mean, look at how people react to having a vaccination. But when the slave vet was introduced, no one gave a kick. And I was like, do you know how much information of yours is going to be stolen into a system that you cannot trust, because the AIVD is not a very trustworthy system. But we have certain thoughts that become ingrained because they're framed and repeated so often. So, I mean, activists are not perfect people. They do their best to change the world, but this is something that comes at you from all sides. And I think if you really start at the core of it, you have to start at where imperialism comes from, and then you see when a community is affected and in what ways.
Word up, and I think this is what, This is exactly what unites us tonight, because we're talking about different themes of exclusion. And the next one is anti-Semitism. And Joanna, I want to ask you to come here and give us the introduction that you prepared.
Hello. I written a little something, and I'm just going to go ahead and read that to you, if that's okay.
Joanna, just go.
Oh, should I come to the middle?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I was like, maybe, okay. When I was growing up, my mom told me to be careful. To be careful when it came to sharing publicly and with others the cultural quirks that weren't and aren't still celebrated in a country such as Portugal, in which 95% of the population identifies as Catholic. I particularly remember her face when she had to talk to the school canteen about me and my sister not eating pork. You see, almost a decade later, I would find out that our nickname in the school was the White Meat Sisters, due to the uncomfortability that our diet restriction created on the whole school administration. You see, my mom's face was one of uncomfortability, a face that now I find myself reproducing when encountering anti-Semitism in my professional and personal life. This isn't the theoric speech maybe you wanted about anti-Semitism as a discriminatory and violent practice that goes back to the times even before Christ was born. Yes, it's been that long. This is my story and personal experience as a Jewish queer immigrant person living in the Netherlands, as an organizer in the activist community, and as a vulnerable human who, just as you, just wants to feel like they belong. And don't get me wrong, I'm not interested in the Eurocentric Christian-focused assimilation. In the end, I just want me and my Jewish siblings to be accepted. And our voices heard and included. So anti-Semitism comes in many shapes and forms. It comes, for example, in the shape of wrong and harmful assumptions about Jewish people. For example, if you assume that your Jewish friend is good with money without even asking them, guess what? You're falling for the most anti-Semitic trope of all times, that all Jewish people are good with money. Guess what? We're not. This idea was carefully crafted throughout the centuries with the goal of painting us as greedy misfits, threats to both the gezelligheid and the meerheid. And eventually, these ideas became part of the cultural fabric of most societies, in which Jewish people are somehow perceived as privileged and above the rest. And again, surely there are Jewish people who are privileged and grew up embracing who they are. Unfortunately, that wasn't my experience, and it certainly isn't the experience of most Jewish people. Another shape anti-Semitism likes to take is what I like to call the innocent abuser. Not so long ago, a man in Urk dressed up for a little photo shoot in which he dressed up as an SS officer. There are very few news articles regarding this, and they all claim that he had mental health issues. Oh, he didn't mean it. This ain't a country in which so long ago millions of us were put in trains nowhere but certain death. I guess you could say that at the time the whole damn European continent had mental health issues. In the time that passed between, the Netherlands and the rest of Europe included invested a lot in making sure that they were trying to dismantle the anti-Semitism issue. The lazy creation of what became later the Israeli apartheid state was seen as the only solution to anti-Semitism. I mean, Hashem forbid that, we talk about why the Holocaust happened and how so many people stood by and actually participated in a genocide of a million people. Like, God forbid we talk about that. It's clearly way easier to not talk about the root of the problem and just pretend it doesn't exist. Every year we have Remembrance Days, but honestly, I want and need more. I want us, instead of focusing all of our resources and efforts in remembering, that we spend some of those facing the bitter truth that anti-Semitism still exists and walks among us. And what hurts me the most, however, isn't the man in URKK dressed as an SS officer. That's pure violence, don't get me wrong. But what brings me pain these days is seeing anti-Semitism in communities that claim to be queer, leftist, and progressive. The inability to listen to Jewish voices while also using gaslight tactics to attempt to tell me that it doesn't matter what you say because children are being killed in Gaza is not just painful, it's demotivating. That a community to which I gave my time and body would be so quick to dismiss my request to stop propagating anti-Semitic rhetoric. You now suddenly care that children are dying in Gaza and that houses are being stolen in Sheikh Jarrah? Honey, anti-Zionist Jews have been organizing, disrupting, and protesting since that goddamn state was installed. We are strong, resilient, and the resistance has been well underway. So should we really be centering non-Palestinian and non-Jewish voices on this issue? The Dutch mainstream media certainly think that's a good idea. And guess what? The resistance exists because many of us face Zionism in the face, in our communities, families, and dinner tables. However, the fact that this moment was used to make a case against us, yet again, playing on those old tropes created centuries ago, this shall not and will not be tolerated. I don't have an answer on how you can deconstruct your inner anti-Semitism. I don't. But I can tell you that educating yourself, reading, listening, observing, that can and will help you. However, for the sake of practice, here is this. Get to know us. Our culture, our rich heritage, our weird humor, as you could see by this speech, our cultural quirks, our food, include us, hold space with us, just like it's being done now. Intersectional liberation is in the end for all of us. And I believe it is the future. Anti-Semitism, racism, xenophobia, fat hate, queer hate, none of it will be solved in my or your lifetime. But intentional solidarity sure is possible and achievable. I mean, just look at this gorgeous table. So, l'chaim, to life, to uncomfortable dinner table conversations, and to many more of these. Thank you.
Shalom l'chaim. Joanna,
Thank you.
can you tell the people who you are?
Yes, of course. My name is Joanna. My pronouns are she, her. I am from Rotterdam. Well, I'm from Portugal, but I live in Rotterdam, so, I carry the pride. And I work as a community organizer, and I don't want to say activist, because also I have a weird relationship with the word, as many of us. And I'm a queer, Jewish, fat, immigrant lady.
Very clear.
Thank you.
And Joanna, you said anti-Semitism is surprisingly also in communities that you don't expect to find it. Can you elaborate a bit more on that?
Of course. I mean, we all saw what was happening in Sheikh Jarrah, something that, by the way, has been going on for decades. We saw definitely within the leftist, queer community that some people were taking advantage of that to promote what is, a very anti-Semitic narrative. And what was very painful for me was to get in touch and be like, hey, I understand what you're doing. You're criticizing the state of Israel. Like, let's go for it. But this is anti-Semitic. And I never, ever got an answer of someone who told me, oh, yeah, thanks for telling me. I will rephrase what I'm saying. It always goes, but kids are dying in Gaza. And I'm like, I know, for a long time. And since the beginning, we've been organizing and protesting and attempting to literally bring down a state. And it's just sometimes very demotivating, but also, spaces like this always lift up the spirits in which you are practicing intersectionality and you are creating a space for all of us here to be together and talk about this.
Yeah. So for once and for all, can you explain people that don't understand yet what the difference is between anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism? Because that's where it goes wrong, right?
Of course. I'll give you a little, I'll attempt to explain in a practical way. So anti-Semitism is discriminating, hating someone because they're Jewish. And like you heard on the speech, normally these days, it doesn't happen then someone comes to me and says, I'm not gonna give you a job because you're Jewish. So it doesn't go to the institutional level as, for example, racism. However, it comes in the more subtle tropes, like, for example, assuming that I'm good with money, or assuming that I am rich, or assuming that somehow there's like a council of Jews, like, controlling the weather. That is anti-Semitism. Like, I wish, sign me up. If the council is up,
Please,
if you're hearing me,
less rain,
please, because this
Joanna,
country
less
needs
rain.
help. Right? So that is anti-Semitism. Oh, I love that. Yes, love it. So that is clear, pure anti-Semitism. But let's say that someone says, Israel is an apartheid state. This is not anti-Zionism. This is not anti-Semitism, pardon me. This is anti-Zionism. Zionism is basically a very old theory, an ideology actually, that believes that Israel is the ancestral place for the Jews and that we should aim at creating a Jewish ethnic state. Anti-Zionism is the people who believe that, yes, things are complicated, but we don't need to be like killing a whole different people and like evicting people out of their houses to achieve safety for Jews. And that's sort of what me and other Jewish people identify as. We want to be safe, yes, but not to the expense of the lives of others. And what happens when these two intersect is that sometimes people have a very hard time discerning between something being anti-Semitic and something being anti-Zionist. Because sometimes, very often, in anti-Zionist discourse, there are anti-Semitic traits that often appear due to, sometimes it's even ignorance, not knowing what it is, and that is really hard because I'm also an anti-Zionist, and I believe in the complete, I don't want to say destruction because that's a very hard word, and the Zionist Jews will come for me, but the dismantling of the state of Israel.
Yeah. I think you made it very clear, and we will elaborate a bit more on that when we have the discussion. So don't call Joanna for the weather, but check Buiradar. We're gonna go to Alejandra. Come forward. I have a mic for you.
I need to bring this because
Oh, you need it?
due to my own dramas, I have a shaky hand. And
Okay.
I get
No shaky hands. Yes. So.
Also because the last time I was talking and I was next to
Yes.
Naomie, I started crying.
As you please.
I don't want to start crying now.
You are allowed.
Remember, right?
Yes, I
Yes,
remember.
yes.
It was not
I-
my fault, though.
No.
No.
You were there to comfort me.
It was Joanna.
It was a very unsafe.
It was
setting.
Joanna.
It was the weather Jews,
Yes.
They made you cry.
Yes.
Oh, I moved over there. I moved here. Hello. So I will start reading. Okay. They asked me to write something about institutional racism for undocumented people. And let me begin. I'm Mexican, I'm a trans woman, and I've been here 6 years. I know you're gonna ask me later, but I should say it now. I've been here
I will make an exception.
6 years, and I'm undocumented. So this is something very close to the heart. But just not to cry, let me read. Institutional racism creates catch-22 situations in which undocumented refugees and undocumented migrants are continuously living in a cycle of marginalization and despair, surviving day by day, being victimized, vilified, and used as numbers, as propaganda for social services. Oh, look all the people we help. And also as propaganda for right-wing movements, like Heluk and those things. If you are Black or a person of color in this white system, you are already suspicious. But if you happen to be undocumented, you are even more suspicious and more victimized and more vilified. The tools that can help improve the situation for people are negated, like access to work, access to education, to housing, access to physical and mental health care. I mean, I know the health system in the Netherlands is the system in the Netherlands in which you have to be with the doctor for a whole day just to get paracetamol. But I should be a comedian too, right? But if you are undocumented, you have to be outside crosspaths for many hours if there's a chance that you can get help, also for paracetamol at the most. Many undocumented migrants, especially women, trans people, are forced by poverty and by this freaking system into sex work as a way to survival. But at the same time, we are punished and re-victimized by these ever more restrictive and criminalizing laws, risking jail, deportation, and for those who have children, the risk to lose their children. Institutional racism for undocumented migrants means that they and their children are forced to depend on charity or government social services, when they exist, that thrive on the perpetuation of misery and which many times keep them in that situation. Institutional racism means not caring about the people, but see them like checklist items. Being undocumented means to have a migrant in the park because you don't have a vet to turn to. It means you cannot get a shelter as a trans woman because you have a child with you, because children should not live in shelters. So then nothing is given to you. It's crazy. Being undocumented means not having regular access to HIV medication because you don't have a family doctor. And why you don't have a family doctor, we know. Because you're undocumented, okay, so it's that easy. Being undocumented means to having to decide between eating and being bullied at the community kitchen or have some peace with you, but being hungry. Being undocumented means not having money to get a jacket to endure this freaking winter. And lastly, I'm gonna say something. I have spent many years in refugee centers, and I have seen countless families from Armenia, from Afghanistan, being forced to live in a limbo state for decades, or being sent back to Afghanistan, which is really dangerous and has been really dangerous since the Soviets and then the Americans and all the Europeans have been meddling over there. And I just think it's really hypocrite that now people seem to care, like the governments. I mean, I've seen it with my own eyes, how people been dying, spending their lives in a refugee camp, and now they seem to care. I think it's really hypocrite. And you were saying something about people taking advantage of these situations to be on the spotlight. I think now with the situation with Afghanistan, many people that never care about people from Afghanistan are now only so pro. So that's it. Thank you. I give you this, right?
Thank you, Alejandra. You did great. With or without a shaky hand. Alejandra, can you tell me who you are?
Hi, I'm Alejandra. I'm a trans woman. I'm from Mexico, and I live here.
Great. Great. You said it's hypocritical that people tend to care now about the situation in Afghanistan. Can you explain that a bit more?
Something that I noticed the Netherlands, in Europe, in the West, maybe, is that the West is either continuously looking for enemies and for victims. And like 5 years ago, it was the Syrian community, the victims, and before them there were other groups, Yugoslavia, and yeah, now somehow the Afghan topic is a hot topic, and yeah, I think many people don't do it from the heart. Governments, by that, they're just looking for an easy way to preach. Like, I'll say something. Maybe it's not related, but the other day I was thinking that there was this Dutch government envoy that went to Hungary to protest for the mistreatment of the LGBT community in Hungary. And I'm like, well, there's mistreatment of the community here. You don't need to go to Hungary. Maybe you should protest yourselves. So, right? Yeah. So, yeah.
Always look outside instead of looking in their own garden.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I said they're always looking outside instead of looking in their own garden. Like, what are you looking there? Look in your own garden, man. Enough shit happening.
True.
That's very true. And Alejandra, what do you think is the biggest misconception in the activist community about undocumented people?
Biggest misconception, that is that we are helpless victims. We do need a chance, but we don't need charity. We just need a chance to live and to thrive like everyone else.
Yeah, because when you came here, did you feel that people were just seeing you as a victim in these kind of activist communities, or you didn't feel like you got a chance yourself?
How can I say? I had a very interesting experience in the Netherlands when it comes to activism. In the I'll say it. I hope I don't upset anyone. In the white environments, I have felt and I've been tokenized, victimized, misused. In the BIPOC community, I've been embraced, given the opportunity to grow and to be me. So, yeah.
Here you are.
Yes.
We will have a discussion all together later on, but first we have a spoken word artist tonight. Arawela's daughter, QueerTopia Act, is going to take place here on the stage. So whoever you are, take it away.
My child, I speak these words softly because the power they hold frighten me and excite me and move me. When I thought of what I want for you, my first thought was everything. I thought of all things I never got to have, and I see them laying in your lap the way you laid in mine. My child, when I thought of what I want for you, I thought of a love so big, it feels vibration all around you. Baby, when I thought of what I want for you, I thought of consent. I wished for no stranger's hand reaching for you, for they know their place and do not dare to touch your blessings, because you are blessed. When I thought of what I want for you, I thought of a life truly lived, not a life survived living. And now, when I look at you, I see you walking on the same feet, but taking a different kind of path. I see the same hands, touching items I would have never looked at. And it scares me, because if you end up swimming in a sea of sorrow, it will be me who's holding the smoking gun. Haway Mahan. You've always told me I would understand when I have children of my own. But I don't need children to see how all my life You've worn nothing but strength and dignity, and yet have been diminished to a shell of what you once were. I don't need children to feel your words that got deeper than a knife. Why am I crying? Because at least you didn't hit me, right? Why am I not just complying? Only you know what's best for me, right? Hoi Ma'an, I do understand your fear for the unknown, the missing off and missing out on, feeling a misfit. I've heard your silent screams, tasted the bittersweetness of your love, and it scared me. Therefore, I choose to live a life not caged by expectations, to be my own beauty standard, to reach for the possibilities of my being, and let it rays gently stroke my face. I choose to not cut corners or let your sharp words cut me, to wear more than my battles, and swim in a love I know I deserve. Hoi Ma'an, let me be for you what you could not have been. I see the hunger in your eyes. I feel it too.
Thank you, Arawelo's daughter, whoever you are. I want to ask you some questions, but you're not here. But we have heard every single word that you said. So we will go on to the discussion, and I will just have to deal with you for then. But I think that's more than enough for tonight. I'm going to ask you the same question that I've asked Naomie in the beginning. Joanna, how does institutional racism affect the Jewish community?
So I think it's important to distinguish that anti-Semitism is different when it comes to racism. You cannot tell if someone is Jewish. Of course, sometimes you can, but not most of the times, because we come in all shapes and colors. So let's say, for example, if I go to a job interview, no one is going to say, oh, you don't get this job because you're Jewish. We are past that because it's such an old type of discrimination that, you know, we already went through those stages and of deep exclusion. And now we are more at something that is really deeply assimilated into the cultural tissue. So it comes either, I think, in very aggressive ways. So like that man who dressed as an SS officer in Urk, the fact that in the Netherlands, it's absolutely normal that you have Nazi groups organizing visibly online in the physical reality, and that they completely feel that they are protected by the law, which they are, because it's liberty of speech. And that is sort of a very big cognitive dissonance there, because you don't get the institutional level of discrimination, but then you have people who literally believe you shouldn't exist. So compared to institutional racism, it's very different. But still in the same way, it is discriminatory, it is problematic, it creates fear within the Jewish community of being themselves out there, and ultimately it leads to our erasure, and that is the lack of visibility is really a part of this, that a lot of people just have no clue about Jewish culture, or that we are a group that exists, that organizes, that it's present, that it's here.
Yeah, clear. And Nilab, for you the same question, but then how does it affect the Muslim community?
That's a good question, because I think a lot of people don't actually know. Well, in the Wetboek van Strafrecht, or the Criminal Justice Book of the Netherlands, there's a special section, I think it's Article 37, and it goes from, I think, A to ZZ. And usually, if you're a suspect of a crime, there needs to be reliable proof that you have committed this crime. But if you're a Muslim, so automatically you're a suspect of terrorist act, all you need is an indication, which could be your neighbor who calls the cops and says, I think my neighbor is a terrorist. Then they can tap your phone, stalk your family, do everything you can imagine. There are special ways to arrest someone for being suspect of a terrorist crime. You often don't even get access to a lawyer. So all of these things happen right under our noses. And I think working in, like having studied law, the amount of stories that I've read that are so unjust, you couldn't imagine, they're countless. But then I did my thesis at the European level because I studied EU law. I thought this is a very sort of, altruistic system that wants to promote equality and justice. So right about that time, there was someone who was fired in Belgium because she wore a headscarf. But she didn't do it for 3 years. She had a vast contract. And at a certain point, she told her manager, I'm going to start wearing a headscarf. And he was like, you can't. But there was no rule regarding that. So then she started wearing that, and she got fired. So this went all the way to the EU court. And I mean, we all know that you have protection of religion and everything. So then the question was, can you fire someone for wearing a headscarf? And then the employer said, well, you know what? We try to be neutral. Like, we weren't neutral before she started wearing a headscarf, but now we have a new rule, and that's neutrality. So no one can show any sort of religious sign to the outside. Mind you, this is also a very feminist issue because this only happens to women. And despite everything I would have expected, the employer was right. And she got fired legally. And that new neutrality principle can now be used to fire and...
So dangerous.
It is. And I think there are so many ways I could put down how this discriminates against women and against Muslims generally, but it's the entire system.
Yeah, I think you made that very clear. Alejandra, for you the same question, but then how does it affect undocumented people?
To the most basic level, I already mentioned it, by not having access to work, to housing, to simply living, and then when you still do that, when you still manage to survive the system, you can still be liable. You can still be. I mean, if you're renting an apartment, not an apartment, but you're renting a room in an apartment, and you do it without a contract, so at any time you can be evicted. That's one, and then besides being evicted, you can also be taken to jail and deported. So, and things that I already mentioned when it comes to health services. There is a person, undocumented. She had a kidney problem, and at one point we had to start collecting money to help pay the rent, because since she was not working, doing sex work, by the way, because it was the only thing available, she faced being on the street while also having terrible pain from the kidney. So it's very basic, very day to day.
Yeah, core level. Naomie, I want you to give me some hope, but take your sip first. I want you to give me some hope, because we are fighting every day for a different world. Let's call the QueerTopia. How does that world look like?
Thank you, whoever was aan het zuchten. Wat inderdaad. Maybe I can give this answer to the public, or this question, if I'm allowed.
You can also use the Mentimeter 444-148.
Yeah, maybe it's a question because I really do not have one. Do we have an hour? How long do I have to describe my QueerTopia world? Like, I need time. I need a lot of time. But I think we're trying. I think with all of our work, we're doing an attempt to this QueerTopia, because I do think that we can achieve that, but probably not in our lifetime. But I think by organizing, creating our own spaces, working on our own emancipation, being our own artists, like, doing the work here, even sitting here, that is for me, attempts to this QueerTopia. And I've been to spaces, events. The fact it is not a lot. It's very basic because a lot of things are still lacking. But hey, beste reizigers, having gender-neutral toilets. Like, yeah, it's very, very basic. It's not a lot, but it is something that for me gives like this little bit of hope, little bit of light, little bit, just this attempt to this QueerTopia's world that benefits everybody, not just only queer people, but it benefits all of us, straight people looking or being here. It's also about you, It's also about you. It's not a world that is separate from you. It's about a world that we all can be ourselves, regardless, of how you want to organize your gender or your sexuality or whatever. It's so I think we're attempting. And I don't know if if I will get there in my lifetime, but
Let's hope so.
You're QueerTopia.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Likewise. Do you agree?
That you're QueerTopia?
No.
Yes, for sure.
I think we would need another panel for that discussion, but
putting you on the spot.
Let's not make it about me. Let's make it about you, Nila. Do you agree?
Do I agree about the concept that Naomie said would be a QueerTopia?
Yeah, how does that world look like? Does it look like the one that Naomie described, or?
I think I was thinking of this world a few weeks ago. I don't know, I just imagined, like, what if Europe hadn't colonized the world? And I was just mind blown. I was like, oh my fucking God, no one would have to suffer from poverty or hunger. I mean, so many continents would just be green and lush. We would have all types of fruits. I would be in Afghanistan, probably, I don't know, swimming in a lake. But also, it would be a world that would be so much stronger. I mean, our communities have so much knowledge and power. People have so much knowledge and power, and if they were allowed to grow, I think... Then I thought the conclusion was I can't even imagine how beautiful that world would be and how far we could evolve as human beings without being held back by gender norms and whatnot. All the norms that we have, beauty standards. I mean, I have no idea what it looks like, but I think it would be mind-blowing.
I hope so too. Apparently, it looked like me, but... What do we need to come to the new world, Joanna?
I must say I don't really like the word utopia because it makes it seem as it's unattainable or unachievable. And even though I legit believe that we are not going to see it on our lifetime, I do believe, and this is like in my gut and in my core, that it is possible because I've seen it in micro scales and in certain specific contexts, but I've seen it. So if it works like this, it should work on the wider scale. I don't even see it as a new world, because that word is also very charged, especially in the colonization context. But I just see it as the future. Because intersectionality is the future. Like, you have many empirical evidence showing that gathering groups that are diverse, that are representative, make better policy, make better laws, make better political decisions. So it's more of a question, not when, but how, because it will happen. And it's more of a question of the minority, because I want to call them the minority, the rich, wealthy. They are a minority. When they lose power or somehow are overthrown. I mean, you can see this as a call to revolution. I don't know. I just hope y'all find the strength to radicalize yourselves, because this is true. The gender binary affects you too. Even if you're straight and like cis, it affects you too. And it's not good for you. It's not natural. It's not natural. Seriously. And I'm not the first one to say this. Alok Venom has a really good talk where they say we need to make the what seems to be unnatural natural, because flowers have so many genders. Yeah. Fish literally change gender depending on their mood, I guess. So this is natural, and it's sort of it feels like you're trying to convince the majority of a truth that you know already inside you. So that can be hella tiring, I think, sometimes. But it's possible, yeah.
It's possible. Alejandra, do you also believe it's possible?
Yes.
How? What's the answer?
No. I have to say, I agree with you, Naomi. I don't think the whole changing of our minds to be able to open up, because we queer people, I think we are very open and we are very accepting. But there are more people, I would say non-queer, but I think many of them are queer. They're just afraid to show it. Yes, and I think we live in such a binary, restrictive society. I'll tell you a story. I was seeing this guy around 8 months ago, white, cis guy, and but there's a point to it. There's a point. Right? It has a good ending. But he was telling me, he's like, I have to confess you something. I'm like, yeah, sure. He's like, I had sex in the butt. I'm like, okay, yeah, me too. I mean, yeah, sure. He's like, do you think less of me? I'm like, I don't think anything. He's like, no, really, do you think I am less of a man? I'm like, no, I think you should do it more often. But my point is, these social constrictions of people is what makes them so dark, so somber, so So we the queer people, we need the queer community. We need to teach them how to open up themselves, and then yes, literally. We're gonna have our QueerTopia. Yeah, literally.
Open up. Open up.
Open. Yes. Open up.
So.
Yes. No. It's just open up. Yeah. To open things.
Yeah.
Open.
And is a key word in that process of opening up also intersectionality? Intersectionality, opening up.
I don't know. I don't. In this form of opening up, I don't know if there's intersectionality.
No.
I think I'm talking about something else.
I think so too.
Yeah. You have a dirty mind, Naomi.
No, depends. Just open.
Nilab, how do you feel? Like,
I've lost track of this whole conversation. I'm somewhere else.
Okay, I'm really trying to keep this as.
It's a queer panel.
Yeah, no, but I don't want to be. I don't want to go into my primitive thoughts, So, Nilab, intersectionality. How does that play a role in, this new world, or the world that might exist and we don't see every day?
Well, I think, first of all, I work at Bijeen, and I think intersectionality is a thing, thank you, that as a word, I think it is something to designate a process of us understanding, or let's say white people are beginning to understand that there are other people, and they are not one-dimensional, not even two-dimensional. They're very multi-dimensional, and I'm hoping that through normalizing people of color and all kinds of people, Muslim people, Jewish people, who have so many layers to them, taking up spaces that are quite visible, that in the future we don't use terms like that anymore. So in this new world, I would, or like in this other, in this future, I would see intersectionality more as a state of being, as a norm, rather than something that we use.
And how can different groups then work together to get to this new world? Because I'm also hearing from many sides tonight that within our own spaces and within our own communities that we also judge each other and we're not there for each other. Like how can we understand each other if we don't have the same struggle maybe?
I mean, we do have the same struggle, but that is also part of imperialism. It is dividing people and having them conquer each other. Because, I mean, I think me and you have very much the same struggle. And I think that when we really look at it, I think there was a very beautiful moment during, was it the previous QueerTopia? Someone was there from, I don't know, he was from a group, and then he asked Mala, but how do you fight against anti-blackness in the Moroccan community? And that kind of gave away that we are made to feel that progression and acceptance is not something that can be given to all of us. Like, someone can be accepted at the cost of every other marginalized community. And we've internalized that as if there's no room for all of us to exist. So sometimes you see that we try to fight, or like in reality what is behind there is a question: if you get there, will you not forget me? And then I think that what we need to do is just always remember that we are never in competition with each other, that any marginalized community being accepted or growing is like a win for all of us, and that we need to be each other's stepping stone.
Yes. Joanna, I see you agreeing very much.
Yes.
Right?
You know, resources are scarce. I also don't want to paint a picture that isn't accurate, because scarcity is real, and putting us against each other is the best strategy they could find, because it's long-lasting, it points out our differences instead of what we have in common, and it keeps us from the real goal. And to me, I think it's important to realize that intersectionality is a lived experience, that we are here as humans who are bodies to different identities, and that these cross over. So I think what is happening right now in the Dutch activist scene, at least in my view, is that we are trying to find each other more. At least since I moved here and started organizing 4 years ago, I feel that more, that people are trying. But obviously, you know, there's still many shortcomings. We still have a hard time listening to each other. We still have a hard time meeting each other halfway. And sometimes we also, sometimes we don't provide the support to other communities that they should be getting. Like, one thing that makes me sometimes sad about the Jewish community in the Netherlands is sometimes the silence when it comes to Muslim hate. In the end, it's in the same bag as anti-Semitism. It literally just became politically incorrect to be an anti-Semite, so people turned to another group who is non-Christian, and, you know, they just switched the attention to there. So it hurts me sometimes when the Jewish community stays silent, because in the end, you know how this ends up, and it doesn't end up well. So why wouldn't you be an ally? I don't like the word ally, sorry. Why wouldn't you be a supporter in this particular struggle? So yeah, I'm missing sometimes that, and I see it happening more, but it's not there yet.
Yeah, and I just very curious, what's wrong with the word ally? I want to know.
Okay, so this
In a
is
very short
I'm going to say again, this is my personal opinion. I am not representing any of the organizations I work for.
We'll put some disclaimers.
The other day I realized that you cannot decide if you're an ally. The community you're an ally to decides if you're an ally to them. Because then literally anybody can be an ally. Oh, I bought an IKEA bag of a rainbow. I'm an ally. No, honey, you just contributed to capitalism. That's it. And it has a rainbow on it. You know, and listen, that has, you know, of course, that I can imagine that if you're a kid in high school and you see your teacher with the rainbow bag and you're closeted, you're like, oh, maybe I can talk to them. So I'm not saying that these things do not have value, but to compare that and put that in the same level of people who organize, of people who take time, who sacrifice their well-being to make stuff happen for their communities, it's just ridiculous. Right? I mean, it's not the same. So my thing with allyship is just sometimes it's very passive. And I want to see movement. I want to see fire. I want to see, not everybody has to be an activist, but you can donate, you can talk, there's many ways of contributing. And I just don't want us to like sit on our comfy chairs and be like, okay, done for the day.
Yeah, I got it.
Because some of us don't get that at all. So yeah, some
Not
help
everybody
would
has
be
the privilege
appreciated.
to buy the IKEA bag. Yes. You said, because I like optimism, and you said that you see that we're finding each other more, the different communities are finding each other. Do you agree with that, Alejandra?
Yes, completely.
Yeah?
Yes.
And how do you see that evolving?
I will tell you a little bit about Papaya Queer. It's a collective I am part of.
Go follow them on Instagram.
And
Papaya Queer.
Keep up.
Yes. And we've been trying to create this group support for trans and queer migrants from a Latin background. And I must say, in the year that we've been together as a collective, we haven't been receiving so much support from so many of you here present to help us with getting a room for someone who needs a place to stay, from getting money for train tickets, to buy clothes, to buy food. And this is, I am very optimistic on this. I do think that once all of us realize that we do need each other, and the more we help each other, the more we're helping ourselves as a whole, yes. I think the more we will grow, and this QueerTopia you mentioned can happen, yes.
Yeah, so from person to person in the community, see each other,
yes.
help each other.
And I have to say, I also hate the word ally.
I'm not alone.
And the word activism, it's so cheap.
Right?
Yeah.
It's become
love
so...
the criticism tonight. Like, yeah, you know, I'm a journalist. Like, love
Yeah, but
criticism.
they had it coming.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, Naomie, in all the work that you do, in all the things that you try and put out there in the world to create a better world, do you also see things changing to the better? Are you optimistic, or are you a pessimist, or are you a realist?
No, I think depends on the day, actually. It depends on the day, depends on all of that.
What do you feel now?
Right now, I don't know how. Okay, right now I'm very optimistic. I choose to be optimistic. Also, like, I really believe that we can make. We are busy making changes. It is happening. We are doing it, and I think we're all just existing. I'm seeing so much different colors, but colors not in skin colors, but just as how we are, different people, different textures, and just this walking among the streets, naming ourselves, daring to be ourselves, is already creating a different world or a different future. For the other ones, seeing you. For the younger ones, younger generation, seeing you, seeing us, being ourselves, knowing that it's possible to grow up and to be hella queer, and to be hella amazing and get your career and achieve anything that you want to achieve. So I will say it's happening, and I see us. I see the future. I see tomorrow because we are here. And maybe it's very, I was corny or whatever, but I truly believe that I see a beautiful makeup. Like, I think your makeup is beautiful, you know? Yeah, like... I'm seeing beautiful outfits and like, come on, people, we are doing it, and to make it something as if it's as if it's something outside of us, as if it's something that is unachievable, that's bullshit. Because that makes it something that we cannot grasp. And I think that we are grasping it every day. Really, we are. And thank you, Sodap, for creating this.
Yes.
This is the future.
Shout out!
And to go back, well, come to my TED Talk, because it will be about, we need to reinvent the activist, because I truly believe that we, you know, anybody who feels connected to this label, feel connected. If you get power out of this, get your power out of it. But I know that, like, I've been labeled an activist, and I carry it with me. It's in my bio. I use it because I feel that for a lot of people it means something, but for me it doesn't. It's something that I do. It's something that I believe in. It's not a label that I put on. Again, I'm thinking about my queer thing. It's not it's not. You know, it's something that you do, and it starts with just feeling this intrinsic motivation, a responsibility, accountability for each other and our planet. That's it.
Yeah, word up, Naomie.
Come to my TED Talk, though.
Go to Naomie's TED Talk. Shout out to Sodap and Afka, by the way, before I forget them. I think we have talked a lot, and I want to give the audience a chance to talk as well. But before we do that, I'm going to say goodbye to the viewers at home, because we're going to close this streaming so we can have a discussion here. Safe one, so everybody can ask a question without being afraid that they are being cancelled on Twitter or something. So thank you all to the performers and the speakers tonight. Thank you all for your digital presence. We will continue here. This was a program by Pakhuis de Zwijger and Fight Club. December 14th, we will be back with a third edition in this series. Put that in your diary. Hope to see you then. And yeah, finally, Pakhuis de Zwijger has been here around for 15 years since. If you want to support Pakhuis de Zwijger, go to their website, become a member, scan the QR code on the website, donate, do whatever you can, or just come physically next time here. Goodbye.